Why is their army so much more massive than mine? We need to build more barracks before we get turned into XP for the enemy. Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant democracy of the left. Here's your meme of the day, brought to you by FiveMind.com. The left and their absolutely naive, insane delusions. It seems they've convinced themselves that if they just keep apologizing, let's call it the Obama tactic, if they just keep apologizing for simply existing, if they keep handing over the keys to the castle, handing out everything for free, then suddenly every radical group on planet is going to join their little hippie circle. We are talking cultural relativism on steroids, and where it's so obvious is with the left's relationship with Islam. They formed some sort of unholy alliance here, and they'll jump through hoops to defend that allegiance. They'll justify all of these inhumane Islamic beliefs, claim that it's just tradition or it's fake news, it's overstated. In reality, they're just freedom fighters, right? They're on the same side, fighting against evil, white, European colonialism. But no, these aren't your anti-fascist comrades. They aren't progressives, actually. You know, the far right that you leftoids are constantly going on about? Yeah, that's Islam. Yeah, that's that theological authoritarianism threatening to pretend Christian nationalist pose. That's the patriarchy right there. The anti-gay, anti-woman, anti-secular worldview that you pretend to despise so much at home. Yet in this case, the left's like, yup, those are our allies. Chickens for freaking KFC, cows, pigs for the slaughterhouse. Islamic militants are not your allies fighting white supremacy. They're using your white guilt like a freaking crowbar to pry open the gates. And what do you think happens when they've seized the structure? Say bye-bye to your rainbow flag, say bye-bye to your entire month of June. You are setting up a disaster where your woke progressive revolution turns into the biggest play of self-sabotage ever known to mankind. I got one video here, folks, that really exposes the truth. Hopefully leftoids are paying attention. Well, newsflash, they're not. But anyways, I'll be speaking to the point anyways, and show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so I got this one video from the streets of UK. Not exactly sure where, I'm sure it's really relevant, but just take a look at this.
No need for that. We're on the right side road. Yes, we are.
So you got this massive group of Islamic protesters wearing hoodies, black masks, chanting Allahu Akbar in the streets. And some leftist dude on the side, I'm not sure if you heard it, says, no need for that, we're on the same side, bro. And the instant reaction from one of the Muslim individuals, no, we're not. That right there, that awkward exchange, I think it encapsulates everything that's going on with this leftist dynamic. These people are desperately clinging on to an alliance that doesn't. You think you're being some sort of inclusive hero by opening the door to all of these oppressed peoples. But these people are not joining your party. They're not joining your socialist revolution. They're plotting to shut it all down, to rename it, to conquer it, and inevitably enforce their rules. But sure, you know, the pseudo-intellectual cultural relativism worldview, it screams, don't judge, we're all equals, we all want the same thing. But while you're not judging, while you're purposely being ignorant and stupid, they are judging, and they're judging hard. Their judgment calls for no pronouns, no drag queen story hour, no drag queens at all, no abortion rights, pretty much nothing that represents your worldview. They reject it all, and yet you leftoids are putting the bill, or at least you're forcing the American people to put the bill for this cultural invasion. Solidarity, right? But it's not. They want to conquer you. It's exploitation. And your willful, hopeful, naive, leftist ignorance is letting it all slide. And blind empathy is a vulnerability. Left broadly, well, that's just one moment. It doesn't represent the whole, right? You've heard this a million times. It doesn't represent the whole. But if you believe that, you're not paying attention. It's not just one guy. It's pretty much the majority view, especially with the new wave of individuals coming through this mass migration scheme. At this point, it's a systemic issue. I've got a documentary clip here from Germany. Not exactly sure when this was filmed, but it looks like it was filmed a while ago. And I think this really puts it all into perspective.
Ein ganz normaler Tag einer syrischen Flüchtlingsfamilie. Ahmad lebt mit seinen beiden Frauen und 6 Kindern in einem kleinen Häuschen im Landkreis Pinneberg bei Hamburg. Ahmad wollte immer nach Deutschland. Geben Sie Unterstützung. Sie geben uns Sozialleistungen. Sie geben uns dieses Haus. Wie viel bekommen bekommen Sie im Monat? Weiß ich nicht. Das Geld wird überwiesen und ich gehe zur Bank und hebe es an. Das Haus, in dem Sie leben, hat die Gemeinde gestellt und wird vom Jobcenter bezahlt. Hallo, ist das Zimmer meiner ersten Frau und da gegenüber das meiner zweiten. 5 Zimmer, 2 Bäder und die Küche. Wo würde eine dritte Frau schlafen? Müsste die Wohnung größer werden. Wie genau Bethol, die Erstfrau mit den Kindern, nach Deutschland kam, ist unklar. Das zuständige Bundesamt will sich nicht äußern, aus Datenschutzgründen. Offenbar hat der Ahmad auf Familienzusammenführung geklagt und Recht bekommen. Der Richter sagte mir, wir helfen dir, deine Frau hierher zu holen. Denn wir wissen, sie sind Muslim und dürfen 1, 2, 3 oder 4 Frauen heiraten. Da gibt es von Seiten des Gerichts keinen Widerstand, dass sie ihre 2 Frauen. Wie viele Kinder wollen sie haben? Ich? 10, 20, kein Problem. Und wie viele Ehefrauen? 4. Bei Allah, Friede sei mit ihm. Mittlerweile hat die Familie einen Flüchtlingsstatus. Eingeklagt per Gerichtsentscheid. Gültig für 3 Jahre. Damit könnte Ahmed auch arbeiten gehen oder zumindest einen Deutschkurs belegen. Der Analphabet will aber lieber bei den Kindern sein.
So basically, you got this guy who's apparently illiterate. He's got 2 wives, many kids. He does not work. The German taxpayers pay for his entire life. And then at the end, he drops the truth bomb. He's having more kids so that one day Germany can become Islamic. And that is what we are seeing across the board. It's not about integration. It's not assimilation. It's straight up conquest through demographics. That is what's going on here. And throughout the years of Obama and Biden, America's been making the exact same mistake. And it seems like we're getting a little bit of a look into that now as this whole conversation around SNAP benefits is going on.
There are 42 million people in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. And we're saying people deliberately instead of Americans because most of the people that are on food stamps aren't even from this country. 45% Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42% of Somali immigrants, 34% of every immigrant from Iraq, 23% of Haitians, 59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps, meaning that most of the people getting food stamps from the U.S. government and the U.S. taxpayer are not even Americans. Think about that. And we didn't know about any of this before the government shutdown started, but thanks to Democrats, we can confirm tonight that millions of Joe Biden illegal aliens, people who crossed the border when Joe was president, are now collecting food stamps from a program funded by hardworking American taxpayers.
The groups who are taking the highest percentage per capita of food stamps are Afghanis, Somalis, and Iraqi families. In other words, importing people who are not being productive. They are a net drain on American taxpayers. They're not working their butts off to contribute to society, to assimilate, to pick up the language. No, instead what they're doing is they're carving out enclaves like in Dearborn, Michigan and Minnesota, and they're being paid to do so. And in the process, they're trying to make insulated Islamic enclaves. We've seen this time and time again. They're attempting to breed, to take over entire regions of the country. And we've even seen many scandals of massive electoral fraud where they're gaming the system in an effort to force Islamists into power. And let me just ask you, if you flip the script, if this was happening but it was white nationalists who were doing the same thing, right? Purposely breeding to reclaim and conquer the country, what do you think they'd be saying on MSNBC?
This is state at its finest. Bold, rich, and perfectly executed. I'm Chef Henry Hill, and I'm preparing a thick-cut tomahawk steak seared over open coals. Rested, carved, and finished with a warm, herb-infused butter melting into every bite. Crafted with precision, sourced with care, and made possible through Proactive Provista's new partnership. Here at your service.
Hey doctor, get paid to share what you already know, whether it's about AI and healthcare or treatment options in your specialty. Sermo Surveys can help you earn easy income. We paid our members $1 million last year. Get your share today.
See, but in this case, it's crickets. Again, absolute leftist hypocrisy and naivete. But the left thinks that based on their compassion, tolerance, and generosity, everything's just going to work, right? That's what AOC said, right? Stop policing crime, and all of a sudden you get a cushy green grass, white picket fence But when you stop policing, what you get is massive crime and total disaster no-go zones. Well, it's the same thing here. Just give people whatever they want, be generous, and we'll live in a utopic society. Well, ask Europe, because Europe's already run the social experiment, and look at what's happening. You know, speaking of the left, their favorite groups, right? Their protected groups. I'd say that the LGBTQ is at the absolute top of the list. Well, look at what you're causing. This just happened in Manchester the other day. You got two trans folks, or I don't know, possibly cross-dressers, but basically you got two LGBTQ individuals. They're strolling down the street, and a group of Islamic migrants jump in and start assaulting them. I won't be able to play most of the clip because, well, obviously the violence, or I guess I'll just blur out proportions, but you'll pretty much get the idea. Of course, the left is silent. Interesting. Well, have you ever thought to think that Sharia law, the hardcore Islamic view, wants nothing to do with embracing, elevating, and allowing LGBT culture? You know, all this talk that LGBTQ people aren't safe because of the MAGA extremists. When have you ever seen a person in a MAGA hat do something like this? You know, MAGA people might not agree with your lifestyle, but they'll never attack you for it. They'll never engage in violence in this manner. Yet you saw all of these people, I am moving to Canada because I am no longer safe. No, Donald Trump and the trans genocide. Not a real thing. Meanwhile, your little chickens for KFC unholy alliance here, that's actually putting you in danger. The left claims, oh, it's compassion, but compassion? There's nothing compassionate about it. There's nothing progressive. You are surrendering Western civilization. And it's all about cultural relativism. That is the concept. Pretending as if all cultures are equal. Meanwhile, you open the gates, allow subversive forces to walk into the nation as you apologize for simply existing. It's the Obama doctrine. It is weak and it is stupid. And again, leftoids, it's essentially enabling asking for the antithesis of everything that you believe in. To come into the nation and destroy everything you're attempting to build. Wake up. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.